So I'm very pleased to report that I've lost 24 kilos, which is major. What I have found particularly fulfilling about it is that I did that without any sort of chemical intervention. So I haven't been on Saxenda or Ozempic or any of those things, which are perfectly valid ways for people to manage their weight. But it was just not something that I wanted to do. I wanted to see if I could do it this way because I'm really concerned also about things like body composition, which I'll get to. But since the last time I've been here, I don't swim at the moment because it's cold. It is getting warmer, so I might get back in the pool soon. Still boxing, still weight training at least 4 days a week, and doing some interval jogs as well. Pilates also built into. I've also built Pilates into my general workout regimen because flexibility and stretching is such an important part of being well. But I think that the real focus, as my last article, or by the time this goes out, probably my 2 articles ago, the real focus has been sleep and rest and managing stress and meditation and spiritual practice and reading a book every day. I think that like coming back to the idea that wellness is a rounded thing. It's an all encompassing all life sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, progress so far has been fantastic. I've been really happy with it. I will soon be talking about the idea of a plateau because it does happen. It happens to everybody. And it's kind of where I'm at the moment, is in that plateau phase and trying to negotiate my way through it. I think to overcome the plateau, particularly if you're on a weight loss journey, which is a big part of my wellness journey because I need to lose weight. And I think that it's important to acknowledge that as well. If you are overweight, there are real health concerns to being overweight, and being an ideal weight, which is not necessarily being like super, super skinny or anything, or like whatever. It's just like being an ideal weight where your joints can handle your body movement, where your heart can handle your mass, where your lungs can handle your mass. Like those sorts of things are really, really important. And there are tests that you can do to figure out whether that's good. So weight loss is an important part of that. So you want to get to a weight where you feel most comfortable. I feel comfortable right now, but I would feel more comfortable if I lost, say, and I know this is a big number, but if I lost another 20 kilos. And I've lost 24 kilos so far. But for context, I'm currently 111 kilos. So, if you look at it that way, then you realize that actually, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I'm 5'8". I should probably be somewhere. I mean, my BMI thing says I should be like 75 kilos, but I'm never going to be that because that's not my genetics. Somewhere in the 80s, I'm happy, and I feel good. In terms of managing the plateau, it is really interesting. I recently went to, thanks to Elise Collective that represents Raksa Wellness in Australia. I was sent to the Raksa Wellness Spa in Bangkok, which was really incredible. So it was a 4-day stay where I really immersed myself in the Raksa philosophy. So if you have not heard of them, follow them on Instagram, head to their website, read about what they do. It's quite incredible. So when you think about wellness, you're either thinking about going to a place where it's very like yoga, meditation, breath work, putting your phone away and looking at trees and that. Or you think about medical wellness. So if you go to a wellness retreat, they're like, doing tests on you and you're in hospitals and blah, blah, blah. Rocks is really interesting because it brings the two things together. And that's where I think I learned a lot about where my body's at currently and where I want to take my body moving forward. So based on the Raksa philosophy, which I've adopted, and I think that we could all adopt, you kind of, and it relates also to the 5 things that sort of like make us tick. But the 3 things that you can sort of like base your progress or your future progress on, your medical health, your scientific metrics, your spiritual health. So the things that you do, like, acupuncture, hydrotherapy, whatever, or meditation, which sort of aligns the energy flow of your body, and then your physical health. So actually, like going, like when I say physical, I don't know, that might be difficult to sort of like separate from everything else, but it's what you do in the gym. It's like the reality of your physicality and what works. What I learned at Raksa about my physical reality, for example, is that one side of my body is stronger than the other side. So what do you do to fix that? So, that sort of thing. But one of the things that was really interesting in sort of like the spiritual treatment was that I was told by a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner that my qi or my energy flow is out of alignment, which can happen because of stress, because of life, because of whatever. It's very fascinating. It's based on your tongue. That's how most TCM things are diagnosed. After a series of acupuncture, that actually really did help me in terms of what it is that I was able to do. Like there's, we have to understand that our bodies, yes, they are physical, but there isn't, okay, if you don't look at it spiritually, we're also magnetic, right? We're also electric. If you think about the way the brain works and the way that your synapses work and your nerves work, it's all electric. It's pulses going through your body at like, light years to make you do the things like move your fingers and feel things or whatever. So obviously those things can also be out of alignment. So that's where that's from. My medical results were very interesting to me. When I spoke to the doctor, and this is why all of them sort of working together is helpful. My doctor said the first, and coming to the idea of the plateau, I know that I go on and on a bit about these other things, but it all has a point. So my doctor said the first 10% of your weight is the easiest to lose. So that makes sense. I've lost more than 10% of my starting weight without any sort of intervention. And she said that's the easiest to lose. And after that, you'll start to experience a plateau. So the fact that I lost maybe, I think 14 or 15% of my weight and am only now experiencing a plateau is probably a good thing, But I think that the first thing that I would say to anybody who's on the journey is wherever you start, if you've lost 10% of your weight and if you've plateaued, don't feel bad. It happens to everybody. Once you get there, it is about figuring out all those other little things to make it all work better. Figuring out whether your magnetic energy is out of alignment, for example. Figuring out whether one side of your body is stronger than the other, so you're not necessarily performing to the best of your abilities. Doing stability analysis to figure out whether it is that, in your everyday that you're walking good, that you're doing, like that your body is optimal, because ultimately your physical state can only reach its optimal state if everything else is working well together. So that's where I've been since I've come back from Bangkok, is just kind of like focusing on the things that I learned at Raksa. So one, giving myself grace and understanding that I have lost the weight all by myself and that I have sort of like gone past that initial 10%, and that plateauing is normal, and also a slowdown in weight loss is also normal. So if you're really heavy like I was, and if you lose weight initially, and if you lose like 2 or 3 kilos in a week, it feels fabulous because we all want instant gratification. But I think after a while you come to the realization that if this week, for example, if I lose 500 grams, I'm happy with that. Like, celebrate every small win, and some weeks you won't lose it, but you will lose it the week after. It's just about consistency, discipline, and being optimal, and just like performing everything to the absolute best of your ability. I think that the more that I wanted to understand how to be well, the more I was like, and again, like it came down to how I felt when I went to the gym, whether I could like, because like one of the things about weight loss in particular, which is really interesting, is that the heavier your muscle mass is, the easier it is for you to lose weight. That it's a simple, basic scientific fact. And so I was like, and the only way to really build muscle mass is to build strength. And to build strength means that you have to lift heavier. And I know that everybody's got a maximum, which is completely fine. But, there are I wanted to know if there were things that I could do to lift heavier, to squat. So, the basic compound movements, to squat, deadlift, and to press. Like, what could I do to just get really, really heavy? Like, what they call the 1 rep maximum or whatever. Like, everybody should be able to. It's not just a bodybuilding thing. I'm not a bodybuilder by any means, but like I think everybody should know what your 1 rep maximum is, because it tells you exactly what your mind and body can accomplish together. So when I was trying to figure that out, because I was like, if I can do that, then because it's a symbiotic relationship. Like if your mind tells you you can do it, then you will do more, which is fantastic, and it forms a basis for your weight loss. I basically went down like sort of a little bit of research. And one of the major things that impacts your ability to lift, which makes sense, it should have been common knowledge, is sleep. It's rest. If you are not rested or adequately rested, you will not perform at your best. And you also raise your risk of injury if you attempt heavy moves or heavy lifts or, a lot of repetition or whatever. So that's kind of where that came from. And then I think beyond that, you feel so much better and function so much better in your daily life outside of weight loss, just in your general sense of well-being and wellness. you function so much better if you are adequately rested. And rested is sleep, yes, but it's also some form of spiritual practice or some form of meditation. It's the ability to be awake and just control the noise around yourself, because there's no point kind of just getting that quiet in your sleep. You need to be able to get that quiet in your day so that you can pause in the middle of chaos and just be like, okay, deep breath. Now we're moving forward. I think that what's next, honestly, is a continuation of what I'm doing at the moment. So, boxing in terms of physical activity, it's boxing, weight training, and jogging intervals. I'm also going to be building more classes in that incorporate HIIT exercises because it also boosts your metabolism. Another really interesting thing about weight loss is that your metabolic rate, your basal metabolic rate, which is basically just the calories you burn just by being alive, does reduce. Which, so if you've been in a caloric deficit, it just kind of, it can sort of start to even out if you're not, if you're not boosting your metabolism as well by doing things that just prompt your body to burn more. So I'll be adding more HIIT exercises in. We've been talking to a couple of those people to see how that's going to work. And yeah, just like continuing with consistency when it comes to reading more, meditating, sleeping, and just seeing where that all ends up. So yeah, that's the next month at least before we figure out exactly what happens next. Before we talk again. So far, I'm feeling really good. Like, it's incredible what happens when you start to balance yourself out. And there's no such thing as perfection, but if you have a general sense of balance between your physical, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual health, you just you get through the day with a lot more ease and with a lot more vigor. So I feel like I'm accomplishing more. I feel like for whatever reason that I have more time, which means that I can do more, despite the fact that 2 hours of my day essentially at this point is like dedicated to some sort of physical activity. But like, because I'm doing that specifically for right now, but I still feel like I can do more, and I don't feel tired. I feel alive and well, and it doesn't impact me at all. I still go out and still have a good time. I think that people don't want to hear it when people are wellness journeys, but like, I still go to the bars. I still have like lovely weekends with my friends and drink too much wine, and I do all of the things, and my life is really full. It hasn't changed. I haven't become some like eat, pray, love person. Like, none of that's happened. But I just feel really good because my wellness is well balanced.